Okay.
You'll put your mic on, sure.
Yeah. Got it.
A little higher.
Got it.
Already?
Yeah.
Got it.
Before I call the meeting to order, I want to remind council of two different things. One, our Robert's Rules
It's
requires
7 o'clock?
before we speak, we have to be recognized, and when we make a motion, whoever makes it speaks first, whoever second it, and just remind of those few simple rules so that we can keep to that. Also, just a reminder of the one that says all questions are directed to the presiding officer. I just want to make sure we kind of do a little bit better job of keeping things in order this year than we have in the past, and I'm going to be kind of calling those things a little bit more often. And I will call the February 5th meeting to order, and I will recognize Councilman Walker to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, bless this council and meeting we're about to partake in. May the decisions we come about are satisfying in your eyes. Amen.
Amen. Next is the reading of the minutes for January 15th. Is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor then of the minutes being approved as written, do so a show of hands. Next is administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you want to add to the briefing?
No, sir, not at this time.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on the briefing?
Would you update us on the case?
Yeah, you had something in your briefing about the,
Yeah, there was some.
and I don't
Well,
know if there's anything else you wanted to add to that about the lawsuit thing that said that there hasn't been an update and there isn't an update.
Well,
Hadn't been one in 35 days or something
Right.
like
I
that.
talked to the attorney today. DOJ lawyers are back at work. They've got a meeting scheduled for next Thursday, but they've already requested to change the date on that, so we're probably looking at March. And that meeting is just a preliminary discovery meeting between the lawyers and the judge. Kind of gets the ball rolling, but it's not a public meeting. So I'll let you know when we ever get a firm date on that. I'm sure it's going to be in March sometime.
So it's not a hold anymore?
It's not on the 14th of February.
I'm saying that it's not on hold because of the lockdown.
No. They're back to work.
Yeah, they're back to work now?
They scheduled that yesterday. And,
okay.
But now there's a conflict with the attorney has another federal court date the same day. So he's going to have to change the meeting with the judge.
Okay.
But the judge will reschedule it.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Brown, on the briefing? Seeing none. Next is amendments to the agenda. I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove item 12B and direct the town administrator not to place this item back on the agenda until he receives written notice as to any updates, press releases that's been approved and requested by SMRF and or its attorneys. Is there a second?
To remove item 12B, I put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
So how can you remove it if I put it on the agenda?
Is there a second?
How can you remove something that I put on the agenda?
You want a second? We got a second or discussion?
It failed from a lack of a second.
Okay.
I second.
All right, let me make a note here.
So you can remove stuff?
I made the motion. I'm going to speak first, and then Mark, and then you can go.
Here we go.
We've been told by the attorney and by the SMRF attorney and by our attorney not to be discussing this item. It's one thing to have somebody discuss it with a neighbor or something to that effect, or wife or family member or something, but to publicly put it on the agenda, for us to discuss when we can't discuss it and been told so. I think it's something very wrong for us to do. And if it's the emails that we received have said that all you wanted to do was give an update, we just gave an update and had an update, so there's really no reason for us to have it on there. And I think we need to be very careful about speaking about this in public when our attorneys have both attorneys have advised us against it. And so I think it's better we take it off, and then when that attorney gives Bob any kind of notification of something that he can share with us, then Bob can share with it, but it's not up to us to put it on there and be talking about it. If somebody wants to ask Bob privately, yourself or any council member, they can ask Bob what's going on. But for us to put it on agenda, I think is very improper and very wrong. And we can't discuss it, so there's really no discussion. That's all and you made the second, so.
And that's exactly the way I feel. I've been involved in litigation before, and it should not be discussed, plain and simple.
Bob, give a copy of that to Renee. Give a copy of that to Renee so she can have it too. Did it for you?
That's a crock of baloney, okay? You cannot tell me that I can't put something on this agenda. As an elected official in the town of Irmo, we're allowed to put anything we want to put on our agendas, and whether you believe it or not, or whether you like it or not, it's totally improper for you to tell Bob to not ever put anything else on this agenda that I request, okay? That is impossible. And don't interrupt, I'm talking right now, okay? In other words, all I simply asked was to give us a status of where this DOJ case is, and we just did. Ms. Condom asked, what's the status of the DOJ case? And he gave it to us, so great. We can simply get to that point of the meeting, and we've already answered the question, we can skip over it. But for you to sit here and tell this council that I can't put something on the agenda and tell Bob that from now on, never to put it back on the agenda, is totally improper and totally ludicrous, okay? And that's why I'm gonna let the citizens decide what are you trying to hide? What are you trying to keep under the cloak and dagger of this council? All these back and forth emails that you go about writing each other, all these decisions you make in the cloak, in the cover of darkness. Be open and transparent with the citizens of our town. All I simply want to know was where we were with the DOJ case. We're getting sued by the Department of Justice, and all I want to know is where we were. The last information I got was that the case was on hold because of the government lockdown, and I want to know if it still was still was the status. That's nothing improper. I'm not trying to disclose our strategy for defending this case or anything. If you guys want to make that decision, y'all can go ahead and make that decision. But I can tell you that the people will not stand for the cloak and dagger, keeping things under the wraps, hiding behind emails and backroom bargainings that y'all do. And that's exactly what this is all about. It's plain and simple.
You want to speak?
Well, I got the same email we all got. And based on what I interpreted the Municipal Association attorney saying was anything said could jeopardize the town's position, and that anything that got out either way could jeopardize either side's position.
Okay, so she just asked it. She just asked a question. She just asked the question.
Councilman Walker,
She just asked the question. Did she not ask the question? Did she not ask the question?
Julius, you got the floor. Councilman Walker, you don't.
So you're saying she jeopardized our case because she wanted to know what
I'm
the update was?
saying what my interpretation of the email that we all received from the attorney said. My interpretation, Mr. Walker.
Okay.
And based on my interpretation and what was either blatantly said or alleged in his email was that if the town continued to have these problems, that we stood the chance of losing the coverage of the insurance company.
What problems? What problems are you talking about?
Councilman Walker, Julius has the floor.
Of the situation. You read the email. It came on this iPad right here.
It didn't say about a problem we were having.
this problem right here, Mr. Walker.
Yeah.
The problem is
So-
the three of y'all. I mean, that's the
Do you want
problem.
to speak?
Excuse me?
The problem is the three of y'all.
Councilman
That's the
Walker,
problem.
you have not got the floor. Julius does. He's entitled to his, and Kathy's entitled to go next, if you want to say anything.
I want to say, because my husband was employed by the Department of Mental Health in 2 states, he was in 5 lawsuits, and it's kind of difficult to read the United States of America versus your husband. But that's what it's just like ours. It says versus the town of Irmo. And we couldn't ever open our mouths about any of it. So when I got that email, I had the same impression. We can't say anything. Ever since Smurf took over, I believe we could say things before, whatever, but not after Smurf took over, because they could deny.
What did you just ask Tom? What did you just ask Bob?
She has the floor. You do not.
What did you just ask Bob?
Don't answer that. Just ignore it.
An update on the court date.
Okay.
So, are you through?
I'm just,
All right. I'm going to address one thing you commented on. This is not saying you can't put anything on the agenda. It says Bob can't put this item, anything to do with this lawsuit, back on the agenda unless the Smurf attorneys or Smurf or whoever authorizes it and tells Bob to do so. And that's all it says. We ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor then of this amendment to remove this item and to dictate or direct or whatever, Bob not to put it back on, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next
I want
item.
to make an amendment to the agenda.
Okay.
I want to make an amendment to add item B back on the agenda. When we get to it, we can skip over it, like we normally should do.
And I want to remind council to add an item.
I made a
to-
motion, and
That's right, you did. But to add an item, you got to have 2/3. So is there a second to Barry's amendment? No second? Okay. Any other amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, next is considerations of communications. Months ago when Chaudhry Sadi and I met and we talked about the demystifying Islam event that they wanted to have. During that conversation, another conversation came up about the having an event. The Interfaith Partners of South Carolina put on an event down in Columbia called Peace in the Park. And there was some kind of conversation about having something similar to that out here. After all that took place, another resident in town said that she was interested in making sure we had something International Day or whatever it is. So I ended up getting those two people together and letting them meet and talk and all that. And since then, it has grown to a lot of different people. But they wanted to come to us tonight and speak and kind of tell us what's going on, and then also talk about asking to use our town park for the International Day. So I will ask Adrian and Mary Kennerly to come up and kind of speak on that.
Good evening. If we might approach the councillors, we have a proposal that we would like to bring to you. My name is Adrian Bird, and I'm a resident of Irmo, and as the mayor just said, several of us in the community have been meeting together to discuss possibilities of an International Cultural Day, something joyful for the town of Irmo. And so once you all get this proposal, I will just run through it. Mary is here and Lainey is here as well, who've been sitting on that committee. If we could just draw your attention to the background there. Several Irmo residents came together to discuss the possibility of the town hosting an international art/cultural festival at Irmo Town Park. Dr. Mary Kennelly and I have volunteered to seek support from various local partners. We visited all the school principals in the schools listed just below, and the response to that was incredibly positive. A local committee has been formed to work with the town of Irmo to organize the festival should the council agree to it. So if I just draw your attention to the top here, we have a proposal that the town of Irmo host an annual international cultural festival at the town hall, at the town park. Our original idea is to just have a small festival this year and then see if it can grow bigger in the next few years. The proposed date and time is April the 22nd from 1 o'clock until 4 p.m. at the, perhaps 5, at the Irmo Town Park. And the proposed theme for this year's festival is around Earth Day, Love the Earth. The goals of the festival are to celebrate the rich cultural diversity present in Irmo through delicious food, art, music, and dance, and also to create an opportunity to promote tourism for the town of Irmo. I draw your attention to those partners listed there: Irmo High School, Irmo Elementary School, Irmo Middle School, Seven Oaks Elementary School, Harbison West Elementary School, H.E. Corley Elementary School, Irmo Chapin Recreation Commission, and Interfaith Partners of South Carolina, and we're hoping there will be more partners on top of that as well. The interest is there. It's a wonderful idea, as we've met with local artists, to think creatively about what this might be. And so it is proposed that the Town Council book the facilities at Irmo Town Park April the 28th between 1 and 5. Our vision: it is proposed that the event feature several components, including cultural performances, that's art and dance, from the local schools and the community, that there be an art gallery featuring individual and group art created by students and the community, to have a fantastic Rangoli art construction that we will build of the day, and to have vendors providing international food for the festival. At the moment, this is a blank page. We are painting it as we meet together and have good ideas with one another. One of the beauties of this is that for this pilot festival, being such a small event this year, that we hope to have a very, very minimal budget. We're hoping there'll be no cost envisioned for renting the festival space. We will need to look into a PA system for the music and the dance. But if we have food vendors for the day, we thought we could charge just a minimal fee for them to be doing that. If the town council is willing to hear our proposal and be prepared to host the International Cultural Festival, that would be certainly appreciated. I think it would be wonderful for the town of Irmo to really put us on the map. And if that is the case, then a comprehensive budget will be constructed prior to the next town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think it's the community park that they're the big one over there. And
It's the 28th or the, what's it?
28th, April the 28th
Okay.
is a Sunday, and it says 1 to 4 p.m. here. I think possibly 1 till 5, so it'll give us time to clean up as well after the event. So the request is that the facilities be booked so that folks don't necessarily book the picnic shelters that day or the auditorium there, that we can book it.
Can you say the town park or the community park?
The town park is this one right here.
Then the one off.
You're talking
off
about the
Lake
community
Murray
park.
Boulevard.
Yes.
Yeah, the community
Community
park.
park,
Sure.
I think it's a good idea.
And I believe, I can't remember, but I think it was one picnic shelter maybe, and in the past, and then we call the thing the amphitheater that we were looking at maybe using. And I think Bob said that one was.
That's what we tentatively marked
Yeah.
off, yeah.
Okay.
Grassy area and the trails around there, and picture shelter number 2 at the bottom.
It's such an ideal location, of course, because it's got good parking, good bathrooms, good shelters, good space, good green area, play area for the kids. So with the support of these schools, of course, a couple of those are internationally recognized, and with their programs that they have, particularly the art, I think that this could be a sensational event moving forward for the town of Irmo, with the possibilities that are literally endless to create art pieces that can be sustainable in and around the town at the wishes of the council.
Dr. Bird, you're trying to create a metanoia between the different religions, a different background, different folks in the community? Is that what your goal is, to create a kind of synergism between everybody?
That's a great question. Really, we're going to be focused on cultural diversity. Certainly one of the partners here is Interfaith Partners of South Carolina, but
right.
Our interest in connecting into those networks is really to bring some of the cultural flavorings to the festival.
You realize the mayor continually is posting racist stuff on Facebook, so with that happening, is that going to impact your cultural diversity that comes up? I mean,
we see this as a wonderful opportunity to continue the conversations that began right here in this space when we had the event hosted by the mosque and Interfaith Partners of South Carolina. It's those opportunities that we get to come together to build bridges of understanding and diversity. This is what this festival is all about.
But I'm saying, you know, the leader of our town is continually posting that kind of racist stuff on Facebook, which is going to hurt your impact of your project, right?
Well, if I take you back to the incidents that I think you're referring to, the result of that was a visit to the local mosque. We facilitated opportunities to build bridges.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's continually doing that after that visit. He's continually posting that sort of stuff on Facebook. So obviously that didn't help much because he's still doing it. So
well, if that's the case, it only speaks to why such a festival is only a good thing for the town of Irmo.
Okay.
The schools are going to they're going to be a part of this, and they're going to take a country or whatever. How much of a part are the schools going to play?
Well, we consider that the schools play an integral role. That's why we met with every principal of the schools listed, and there are others that we can connect with as well. And they were very excited. Of course, the schools are incredibly diverse as well. Many of them already have international cultural days, so it's playing into what is already present. The schools will serve as partners, essentially. Okay. They will be the ones who will, the school children will create the art that will be shown at the festival to bring the families to have a great day. They will be the ones, hopefully, that will be performing, that will be singing, that will be dancing, that will be eating. If there is space still in the agenda, then in the time frame, then we will look to other communities to see if they can bring some richness to that culture as well. But a couple of schools have mentioned the possibility of, yes, focusing on one particular culture, a dance, and getting connected with somebody in the community who can teach them a particular cultural expression through their dance and their music, the drum beats, and whatever it might be. So.
Good.
It is an open canvas. We just hope that you will say yes to this, that we will move forward with this, and let the planning team do its work.
Thank you.
And I think one thing, too, you might, I don't know if it's next meeting or in March, we're supposed to be, at some point, getting some bids on maybe widening some of the pathways, the ones that are especially next to that parking area where normally the food vendors set up. So it may be, at that time, we might have a little bit of, but I think you said it would only take about a week or so to fix them once. Depends on the weather. So that may be something just to keep in mind, that could be a snag, because they may be working in May or they may be working in April. We don't know yet. But
I think we ought to host it.
And it doesn't really cost us anything. We're just kind of letting them use the park and the
I
picnic
think it's a
shelter and
good
the path
idea.
and all that good stuff. So, anybody have any
Have you
objection?
gotten any response from Dutch Fork High School?
That is not on our list, but certainly we'll be seeking to speak to other principals as well.
The town of Irmo sends students to Dutch Fork High
That's
School,
right.
even though the school's not in the town.
Well, it's taken us a while to meet with all these principals, and certainly we're not trying to limit that because we want more folks to come to Irmo as part of that goal to promote tourism within this town. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounds good.
Bob, I think we need to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. We can vote on this, we're sponsoring this thing or not.
Well, for right offhand, just for them to know, does anybody have any objection to it? No. Okay. So at least they can know to move forward. Any other considerations of communications?
Yes, I have one. I'm unaware if the entire council has received an invitation for the Lexington County Night, but I believe this is the third that we've gotten that there's been a conflict with our particular meeting night to go to this. Now, 3 of us are residents of Lexington, as well as a quarter of our town. So I think it would be beneficial for us to attend this. Now, what it would require is either we cancel, the next council meeting, or we put it on another night.
Oh, you're about the meeting, the
That's
March
correct.
or the February, whatever it is, meeting.
That's correct.
19th. Yeah.
I agree. Every year, the third year that I get that invitation, I think we ought to go to this.
Yeah, and we've tried to have them change it,
We have.
and they're not changing it. They're not changing it. So I think it would be good for us to meet with the council and the other municipalities involved in Lexington County. I think it'd be a good networking event.
I do too.
In order to counsel a meeting, we have to do it at a public meeting, and it has to be on the agenda, which it isn't. So a couple things we'd have to do. In order to add something to the agenda, which this would be adding something to the agenda, and since it's a one-time vote, that means it's also the final vote. In order for us to add it to the agenda and it's a final meeting, final vote, we have to have 2/3 majority to agree to it, and it has to be emergency and exigent. And I think somewhere I read one time that exigent basically means that you have to do it now because you can't do it later. I don't know if that's kind of whatever. 2 things we could do. We're past amendments on the agenda, so we would have to suspend the rules, go back to amendments of the agenda, do it, go through the process of meeting that criteria, which I don't know the 100%. Does it meet that?
No, it doesn't, does it?
Okay. The other thing would be is to call now for a special meeting next week.
Can't do that either, right?
No.
Well, I'm trying to, how many days do we have to call for a special meeting?
7 days.
7. So today is Tuesday, we'd have to meet Thursday.
Emergency meetings are 24 hours, but,
But I don't know if that falls under that.
Yeah.
So we would have to meet next Thursday or Friday. So we could call for a special meeting for next Thursday. We could put that on the agenda. We could also put the thing on the agenda about the festival, get that out of the way to let them know. And is there anything coming up on that next meeting, Bob, that you're aware of that's?
appointment to the planning commission.
So we could do that then, or do it at the next meeting, either one.
We just advertised it last week.
So you'd have to wait till the next meeting, postpone it till the next.
Next week, I mean, the requirement that council put in the policy is 2 weeks' notice for advertising.
So
At
that would
least
be
2
weeks,
It'll be 2 weeks next Friday.
but we'd be meeting Thursday, maybe. When Thursday is? Oh, so we'd have to meet Friday to meet the 2-week guideline and to not be on Valentine's. But then,
Or,
but you got to publicly meet to counsel a meeting. It has to be
understood,
on the agenda.
understood. So you have to publicly meet. So we would have to do it on the 15th.
You'd have to do it on the 15th.
Do all of us have to be here?
You'd have to have at least 3. Or you could do it the following Monday. Does somebody meet here?
Following Monday's President's Day.
Monday,
No, Monday the 18th.
18th is President's Day. It's a holiday.
But that's is that a holiday? Okay. So we'd either have to meet or we'd have to meet on the 19th.
If you want to go to this thing, when's the date of that?
The 19th.
The 19th.
19.
Why don't you just go? I mean,
I could, but I think it makes more of a presence if we're all there.
Now, we could, next year, just make sure we cancel that meeting on the 2nd February so that it doesn't conflict with that if we wanted to, but that'd be next year. But basically, if we wanted to cancel the 19th, we'd have to call for a special meeting and do that.
Or
But how many days you said? 7 for a special meeting?
Has to be 7 days, right?
Or get down there very early and come to the meeting late.
It starts at 7,
Yeah, it starts at.
Oh, it starts at 7?
doesn't it?
No,
6.
6.
6.
6.
They'd open the doors at 5:30 probably.
yeah.
But that's not the 7 days.
Yeah, well,
Oh, that's right, today's Tuesday. Yeah. What time is court over?
Starts at 4, just depends on how many cases. You could have 100, you could have 150, you could have 50.
That would be better. I could be here then. It's up to y'all. So that's the 13th? Wednesday? Yeah, okay.
Well, or you could meet earlier in the day. Doesn't have to be, we could meet,
I'll arrange my schedule.
we can meet at 4 o'clock. Well, we'd still have to have a special meeting to change the time too, so.
Oh, Lord.
um,
Aren't we special?
Look, I'd like us to be able to attend this thing. I think it'd be important. I'm up for it. I'll change my schedule around to make these meetings so we can make this happen.
I agree.
Three council members can call for a special meeting, or the mayor can. So we can either, it's not on the agenda, so we can't really call it and vote on it. But after the meeting, when y'all have had some time to think, either let me know and I can call it, or three council members can call it for Wednesday or Friday or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, because Thursday's Valentine's.
Yeah.
And I don't want y'all to get in trouble. For
Well, I couldn't even remember it, so I'm probably already in trouble. But anyway, so let's do that, and then y'all can, yeah. In consideration of communications, I wanted Whit to also come and speak and just remind us one more time about this rain barrel thing, because it keeps getting in the local paper on a different location instead of here. So,
Mr. Mayor, the Lexington County Stormwater Consortium is going to do a rain barrel workshop on Friday, March 15th, 8:45 in the morning to noon. It will be right here at the municipal building. We'll work here and down at the Public Works building down the hill from here. The cost for this rain barrel workshop is $25. If you got any questions,
it's here,
it's here.
March 19th, no, March 15th.
15th, Friday.
At 8:45 to 12.
Correct.
I think you said you were going to meet in this building for the education, and you'd go down there for the
Build the rain barrel.
building.
Correct.
So, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other considerations of communications? Seeing none. Next item is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address council on anything that is on the agenda may do so at this time. All we ask is that you come to the podium and give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, George Glassmeyer, 100 Denbeck Road. I want to address items 10A and 12A. 12A first. As I'm sure the council knows, I'm typically not a fan of spending money, tax money. I'm very conservative about that. But I do endorse doing an examination of our current police officers' salary levels, and my sense is that they need to be increased, and because to not increase them, I think, would be penny wise and pound foolish. As all of you know, there's a lot of competition among the various law enforcement agencies, particularly here in the Midlands, for qualified applicants for law enforcement officers. And those of you that are or have been in business know that turnover is one of the most expensive things that you can encounter in a business. Once we get qualified, certified officers here, we need to do what we can to keep them, and we need to have our salary levels such that we're attracting the limited number of qualified applicants that are out there in the pool so that we can get our fair share versus what the other agencies are getting. And frankly, if our salaries aren't competitive, that's the first, I would tell you that's the first thing that officers are going to look at when they look at various agencies where they can apply. What's the pay? And perhaps then the next thing right on the ladder would be, what are the benefits? And I think we have a great benefit package, and I think the chief does a good job of advertising that, but I think pay trumps that even, at least in the eyes of young officers. So I'd encourage you to, as a minimum, ask the administrator or the chief to conduct a survey of local agencies to see what they're paying, and I know many of them, especially Town of Lexington, is paying much more than we are, and let's look at raising our salaries to be competitive. I want to talk about item 10A now, the proposed rezoning of 201 Lordship. I've lived in Old Friarsgate for almost 31 years now, and I have consistently been opposed to rezoning any residential property that's on the perimeter of Old Friarsgate to a business application. And I can remember appearing at council when it was in the Youngener building one night when there was a proposal to rezone a perimeter property, and I speculated that I feared that one day I'm going to look out my kitchen window and see a grocery store parking lot. And the last time this came up, as best I can recall, there was, and it's funny, Mr. Walker should accuse somebody of racism because he's incidentally has accused me in this very chamber of being a racist not once but twice.
3 times.
I may well be more after I finish here. The last time that a property on the perimeter of Old Friarsgate or nearby came up for rezoning, I recall it was a property in the vicinity of Eastview and College Street that was proposed for rezoning to a commercial use. And I was opposed to it just because, again, I don't want to see the erosion of residential properties in the Old Friarsgate area. Mr. Walker accused me of being opposed to it because, in his view, I was keeping a black person from making money off their property. I want to go on record right now. I don't know, nor do I care what the race is of the owner at 201 Lordship. Okay, Mr. Walker, I don't know, don't care. I do care about where it is, and I do care about not rezoning it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody put on their agenda that these are black people that own that property? Was that on the agenda anywhere, Mr. King? I'm asking you a question since I directed.
This is presentation.
I'm asking you a question.
I don't care what you're asking. This is
well,
out of
was
order.
it on the agenda?
He's up at the podium.
Well, obviously,
you see it? You gotta.
No, I mean I don't see it. So obviously he's saying he's referring to the black property. So there must be a racial epithet about it. I mean,
Mr. Walker, this is inappropriate. Somebody's at the podium. Go ahead.
First, I want to say International Day is wonderful, especially since Irmo Middle's an international academic magnet. I'm very, very thankful y'all didn't give them a hard time about using the park like you do citizens when we asked to use the park, like Jada and Mr. Wade. The DOJ issue.
That's off the agenda.
No, I'm allowed to talk.
No, you're not. It's off the agenda.
I'll come back up at the end.
You can come at the end, that's fine, but it's off the agenda.
It's public information. You do know that, right?
It's off the agenda. We're not going to talk about it.
But you did talk about it, and that means I get to.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
I'm not going to go over this.
It's an agenda item.
You can do it at the end of the meeting.
You discussed it, correct?
You can do it at the end of the meeting.
Did y'all discuss it?
Do I need to? We're not going to discuss this, and it's not on the agenda. He has to wait to the end of the meeting.
They discussed? Is that right?
We didn't discuss it.
You did discuss it. Bob gave an update. So I don't get to
Would you
speak
like
on that?
to be removed, or would you like
What are you
to?
going to remove me for?
Because you're out of order. And I'm not going to sit here and waste our time arguing about this. You're out of order. It's not on the agenda. You need to sit down, come back at the end of the meeting, or discuss anything else that is on the agenda.
Okay, the only other item I wanted to discuss right now was the officer salaries. I don't think we need to increase them to be competitive. I think we need to increase them because they deserve it. They're at town events when you aren't mayor and when you other council members are not. They are constantly helping people find their dogs. They are constantly doing community activities. I recently sold a house, and I won't mention which part of the neighborhood it was, but every single neighbor told that buyer that the neighborhood is safe because there's an officer on that cul-de-sac. So please don't increase their salaries to be competitive or because it's time. You need to increase them because they deserve it. You should have increased them a long time ago. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Wade Deloach, 156 Finsbury Road. I'm in support of the police officers getting an increase in their salary, but also I'd like to increase it one. These guys work hard and go through a lot of stress. If they come every day for 4 months and don't miss a day, I think the town could give them a day off. I think they can get 3 extra days a year, every 4 months. If they don't miss any days, which helps out a lot on their shift and puts a lot less stress on the rest of the guys, they should be rewarded for that and possibly given 1 day off. And it would have to be, done within the next 4 months. Then every 4 months they can get an extra day off. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next item, no unfinished business. Next item is first reading under new business, item A. This is the ordinance 1901 to rezone property at 201 Lordship Lane from single-family residential. We have on here commercial, but they changed it to office commercial. So it'd be going from residential, single-family residential to office commercial. Or is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Anybody want to?
I want to discuss it. I mean, if y'all don't want to discuss it, that's fine.
I'll second it to discuss it.
And Councilman Walker, you can go first.
2 questions I have. First, the Planning Commission voted to approve this with some discussion, I believe. You said it was. What was the discussion?
The vote was 3-2.
3-2? What was the 3-2 in favor of doing
In
this?
favor of the rezoning.
Who voted for this? What commissioners voted for this?
I have to sit here and think for a minute. Mr. Chitwood voted for it, Mr. Wadlington voted for it, and Mr. Lindler voted for it.
And the reasoning was because it was the right thing to do. It was, I wasn't at the meeting, so I was trying to get some background on why they came across that.
They didn't say why. They just
Okay.
agreed with the rezoning.
Okay. Knowing that this property is right on the corner, right across from Jim Hudson, directly across from residential property, and it is a residential property. The people that are in there now, are they using it as a residence, or they're just fixing it up to use it as commercial?
I don't know. Mr. Mack is here if you want to ask him. He's in the
Mr. Mack is the person requesting the zoning change?
He's the one that's speaking in. Is he still here? He is gone. Okay, I don't know the people living in there, and I don't know if it's rented or if they're the owners.
Well, at the planning commission, did he speak what he's going to do with it?
They wanted to open it up and use it as a real estate office.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't, okay. I think there's a lot of other properties we have around town that's available to do that, that's zone commercial right now.
Councilman?
Yeah, I'm not for it, because again, it is right now a residential property. And if that map doesn't do it, doesn't give you a good view. There are mostly trees on that property right now. If a business was to go in there, all of those trees would probably get cut down to make room for parking. I think it's a bad idea. My opinion.
Any other?
I initially thought it might be okay because it was office commercial, but that won't, might not be a real estate office forever. It could be a lot of other things that are not neighborhood compatible. So I'm not in favor of it either.
Nor am I. That house has been vacant for many, 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 many years. 30 at least, I know.
Wow.
And they've spent a lot of money fixing it up. I thought somebody that had bought it was moving in. And then I hear about this. And that's the first domino on the block. And it could just roll straight on down Charing Cross, and you'd have 2 blocks of commercial property, one fronting Broad River and one into the subdivision. So I'm not in favor of it either.
All in favor then of first reading of ordinance 1901?
Well, wait a minute. I have another comment. I don't understand why the Planning Commission voted for this, and if nobody can seem to tell me the reason behind that. I mean, there was no discussion with these people.
There was plenty of discussion, but they didn't actually say why they were in favor or not in favor of it.
But Chitwood, Waddlington, and Lindley?
That's correct.
Those 3 are the ones that voted for it. Okay. Thank you.
And it really, I mean, even if they all turned it down or if they all voted for it, they make a recommendation to the town council, and we can either accept it or reject it. So it really, I won't say it doesn't matter, it does, but at the same time, they're making a recommendation, not, they could vote against it for good reasons or vote for it for bad reasons.
Yeah, but these are the people we're looking for to help us plan the direction of the town, and that's why we put them on the Planning Commission.
And they have opinions like anybody else.
If they're sending us stuff that clearly is not compatible with the community, but you're allowing, they're voting for it, I'd like to know why they voted for it or what the reason was to allow it. That's all. I mean, I'm not trying to say that we have to agree with it, but I just want to know what were they thinking to send it to us and say with a positive recommendation.
I would
something
imagine,
that I'm missing.
Without knowing, but I would imagine the thing that guides the Planning Commission in everything they do, or should to a certain point, is making a decision of what is the wisest and best use of a property. That's what guides planning. And so, somebody could look at it as an owner. If I own that property, I could look at it and say, well, there's C in there, CG there, CG there. That corner right there is CG. And I could say, well, I'm asking for CO, which is less than CN and all that other stuff. I could also make an argument, if I was that individual, that this property, I'm never going to be able to sell it as a home, so to speak, because of the other homes are more protected. And I'm never going to be able to rent it because of the traffic and the Burger King and the Toyota dealership. So best and wise use might be CO. They have to make a choice just like we have to make a choice, whether we make it because our aunt lives there or grandmama lives there or they live in the other houses, or, it doesn't matter. We just have to vote. They had to vote, and they did, and we do. So,
You don't see what I'm...
yeah, but I mean, I'm also seeing that it doesn't matter. and they could tell us
doesn't matter.
one thing. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does matter.
They could have good reasons. They could have bad reasons.
Well, we don't know what the reason is, and I'm asking what was the reason for them to send it to us with a positive recommendation, and we don't know the answer to that.
You'd have to ask them. Call them up and ask them.
Yeah, okay.
They might tell you to go fly a kite. They might give you a good answer. I don't know, really.
One comment. It may be the best use for that owner of that property, but I don't think it's the best use for the neighborhood.
Absolutely not.
So that could be what they're thinking, and that makes sense.
So, all in favor of first reading 1901, do so with show of hands. All opposed? Next is the approval to close Carlisle Street from Columbia Avenue to Lexington Avenue. God, my mind just went blank. Young's Chapel Church is having a Easter event. My mind just went blank, but a bazaar, I think it is. Bazaar, yeah. So they're wanting to close that road for them to be able to do it. And that would be from
6 a.m.
from here all the way down to the next block. Basically, this one block right here where we used to have the oak strut there for a while in the farmer's market.
Okay.
Yeah, that one block there.
Okay,
So-
I'll make the motion.
When's Jada's thing?
The Saturday before that.
Okay.
I think that's right. Yeah, the Saturday before that. Hers is the,
You got the flyer in there.
oh, I do?
Yeah, the next page. Yeah.
That's right, the Easter egg hunt is at 4, and this thing is till 3?
Yeah.
Till 3. 2, okay, yeah.
Is the Easter egg hunt at
4.
this-
No, it's at the community park.
Oh, yeah, okay, it's two different parks.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So you made a motion for an approval. Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor then of closing Carlisle Street from Columbiana Avenue to Lexington Avenue on April the 6th from 6 a.m. to 3, do so with show of hands. And next is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address anything on the council or anything on the agenda, or anything at all, whether on the agenda or not, may do so at this time.
Okay, back to the DOJ issue. I don't understand what the issue is with giving us an update on what's going on. We didn't ask you to give an update on your side of things. It's public information. Any one of us who goes to the websites can look at it. Eric's been given really good updates every time something new is posted. So I'm not sure why we're still hiding things when we can go to Matthias and we can get on Facebook and discuss it and everything else, but we can't discuss it on the record for the public to be aware. So beginning next meeting, I will do an update for the citizens during this presentation period. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Next item is the discussion on the police officer's salary. And y'all see the thing that's in the package. I wanted us to kind of get an idea of what it would cost before we get to the budget workshop, so that we have time to do this before we ever get to that time, so that we can have a better idea of everybody out there is also trying to fight for the same recruits that are coming out of the academy, and trying to get them before they go in there, and all those good things, is to look at how we can be a little bit more competitive. We may not be able to compete with everybody on every playing field, so to speak, and there's a lot of things that's been talked about. This is only the pay scale, and Bob, I'd asked him what 2,000 looked like and what 3,000 looked like, so he kind of took the middle and kind of did us a thing. They also looked at some of the other towns to kind of give a comparison as to what their starting salaries are, and then 3 years down the road, what it is for a senior patrolman. That also, though, doesn't take into account, we don't know, they may know, whether some of these towns actually pay for the officers' own health insurance and those kind of things. I think we're one of the only ones that do the pay for if you live in town. Some of them do the car thing, some of them don't. But these are kind of things that we need to be thinking about so that, and one of the things I'd wanted to do, depending on what we do about the meeting, is that our next meeting on the 19th was to have a work session before the meeting or at a separate time so that we can kind of talk about this stuff a little bit more instead of being under the gun to try to do it in 15, 20 minutes. The captain is also, and the chief and all them have also come up with some ideas which they can give us a better breakdown at the meeting when we meet as to doing what I'm going to call retention bonuses. That if somebody's here 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or whatever it may be, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, to get those up. I think there was also some talk about maybe, I had talked to Bob about this, and they were going to discuss it, is to have, and I don't know exactly the thing, but in the military you may have a first sergeant, a second sergeant, master sergeant, sergeant major, whatever, is to have some other rankings in there that could also help some of those officers bump up in pay, but also bump up in rank, that might keep them or retain them in that, but a lot of different ideas like that, so that we can decide it at the work session, what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? It could be that we do a combination of across-the-board pay increase and the retention. I'm going to call them that for other, I don't know what, retention bonuses where you do that. But I want us to kind of have some time to digest this, think about this, and then also be ready at that meeting to kind of listen to other ideas too. Been a lot of things tossed around. Some of them might be better than others. Some of them we can do, may not be able to do. But I think it's that we need to try to do what we can. And I think you said it was between first year and 7 year is when we're more likely going to lose some. After that, they kind of have a tendency to stay. So trying to address that issue there, whether it's more pay or bonuses or a combination of or what. But that's why it's on here, just for us to kind of talk about it a little bit, give them some feedback, and then they can also kind of use that to kind of address what we're thinking and what's right, and then hopefully get some of this done to where sometime in March we can go ahead and put it on the agenda and start voting on it and get it done before we get to the work session. And anything that we do, the regular annual cost of living increases would still be across the board to the town and to the office. And then the pay scale, the step increase, would still go across the board. This wouldn't deduct from that. This would just be something, but that's why it's on here, and that's what I wanted to bring it up, and then y'all can discuss it too. I don't know who wants to go next.
Most of the people come in as patrolmen, is that right?
Yeah.
35,000.
That's correct. I'll let the chief answer, the questions. The first slide shows you the benefits, and this is what, officers pretty much generally get when they come in and start, and pay scales, and then we can go to the next slide later, which will show you, what it'll cost the town to do that. But any questions you have for the first slide, we'll start with that.
And depending on their experience, whether they're certified or not.
There's a lot of there's a lot of variables to what the starting salary would be for someone coming in with experience in law enforcement, with experience in life experiences. I mean, if a 21-year-old comes in, we may pay somebody a little more who's 40 years old, has a little more life experience, a little more, seasoned. Thank you. So a lot of those variables are there, but 35 and up is what we're paying officers.
So a brand new officer that you hire off the street, certified, comes in at 35. Is that what the offer is?
Not certified. 35 is where we would bring someone in who was flipping burgers at McDonald's or Burger King
Right.
the day before. No life experiency, has to go to the academy. We could bring them in at 35.
35.
35.
Okay,
And then
and then to that, if they live in town, we give them the housing subsidy, right?
Yes, sir.
That's $7,200.
6,000.
6,000 a year. It's up to 6,000 a year.
Plus, we let them have a car.
20 miles as the wheel turns.
Plus, right?
Yes, sir.
So the car, housing subsidy, so that's another 10,000.
For a car,
Well, no, I mean if they got used to the car, that's a benefit, right?
that is definitely a benefit.
Okay,
We
so
appreciate
I
that.
say 3,000 for that, so $10,000. So that 35 now became 45, right? The way I look at it.
Yeah,
I'm
if
just
you
saying.
start looking at what we
Okay.
offer and putting a money value to it, yes.
Do they get that before they go to the academy, or do they
vehicle?
get that after they go?
After they complete the criminal justice academy, the day of graduation, we hand them the key to one of our police cars.
And then the housing, does that go into effect when you hire them or after the academy?
That goes into effect after the academy.
Okay.
Okay, so everything is after they've been certified and
Yeah.
Yes,
they passed the academy. Okay. So what's the starting salary of somebody who is certified, already got the academy experience?
Could be 38 to 40.
40. All right, so 40 plus the housing allowance, plus the car, so another 10,000, so that's 50, all right? I'm just,
Yeah, off the top of your head, yeah.
right. And then you also give them the step increases and stuff like that
Yes, sir.
normally, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, medical, well, we don't pay for medical, they pay for medical, right?
Oh, no, we pay for medical.
We pay for the employee, but not the family.
But I'm saying, that's just a small part, okay.
Small?
It's large.
That's a nice chunk.
Yeah, it could be
No, I'm
anywhere from-
saying the medical, they have to pay for medical for their family, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But for them, it's paid for. Right.
and some towns don't do that, some do.
Okay, so that's another 3,000?
A year? No, it's more than that.
How much is it?
Well, they-
500 and
Tell you what we're paying now for medical, just for the police department.
241,000
Yeah, but that's for the whole,
police department.
That's for all the police officers.
right,
You know, 241,000 just for the health insurance.
okay.
Divide that by what?
26,
20 officers, okay.
or 20 now, yeah,
It's
21.
probably $400, $500, $600 a month.
$12,000.
Yeah.
And if they're college educated, 3,000 more.
Can I interject here?
So, I mean, you're talking about 60 grand.
So I need you to go out and go out in the community and get me some police officers then that are certified and tell them everything that I've been telling them for
I'm serious, I mean, we're
years.
talking
I
about
get
60
it.
grand.
Councilman Walker, I get it. We go out there and we tell these officers who are certified at other agencies the same thing.
Right.
We give $1,000 to an officer who can go out and get us a certified police officer who makes it through. I get it. I'm on your side. But we're not retaining them. We're losing them to West Columbia. We're losing them to
Well, how much are
other
they paying them,
agencies.
$100,000 a year?
Well,
on
West
that other
Columbia
sheet.
brings them in around 42, 43.
That's on the last slide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Town of Lexington brings them in at 42, no experience. I mean, I get it. We got great, in the town of Lexington has triple pay holidays. We have double pay holidays. I mean, I can give you comparisons. West Columbia does double pay holidays as well. You know, when I worked there, I got a free turkey at Thanksgiving when I worked at West Columbia, but I don't know, that's not.
Okay, but we just went through a little scenario here, and I came up about 60 grand a year, and you're saying that town of Lexington has a senior patrol with 3 years experience at 50.
About 51, yeah.
So what's the problem? I don't,
Add in their
we're
triple
paying
pay.
60 and they're paying 50.
If you
No.
add in their triple pay holidays at 13
You
and
take that
those,
50 and add all that same stuff.
and
that
you give them a
added-
car,
added to theirs,
they get a
too.
take-home car. They
Right.
get triple pay holiday. They get Christmas bonuses.
They don't have a housing allowance. That's a plus.
Yeah, that's
We
one
got
of
'em
the things
there.
that we
Yeah,
have
we
that
got 'em
other
there.
ones don't.
I mean, you know, yes, we have great benefits. I've been saying that we go out and we recruit as much as we can. But we're just not really, we're not getting it. On the bottom line is when officers get here and I tell them 38 and some change, you're certified, come on in. And they're looking at West Columbia who will bring them in at, I'm sorry, this thing's having so much feedback, bringing them in at 42 certified, 43 certified, they're going to go where the money's at. I mean, that's just what they're going to do. Yes, we have great benefits, and I appreciate that. The town, nobody at the police department can tell you, we love it. We're, you know, everything the town does for us, we love it. So it's something to think about. We either stay on the course we're at, and you guys think about other incentives we can offer, or, you know, we just deal with it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Two right off. Every time Thanksgiving, when y'all get the Christmas bonus, I get emails.
Yeah.
So they appreciate that enough
Yeah.
to thank us for it. We could increase it.
This is what my suggestion is. Whenever I have my review, they go to my total compensation package. Beyond my salary, what my benefits package is worth. And what you have to do is, it's all public information, what you have to do is you have to put that up against Lexington, against Casey, against all of the locals, and decide, do we truly have a competitive package? I think we do, but you have to show the officer that our package is not worth 40, it's worth 60.
Absolutely.
It's worth 65, and that's how you push this. And you show what the Lexington package is, you show what the Casey package is, you show what the Columbia package is.
Yeah, I was doing that. I was saying we were getting holidays at an hourly rate of what you're going to come in. This is what you're going to get additional for the holidays, and I was doing all that.
But I'm saying when you advertise, you put the total value in there. You're going to get a lot of people in there. Now they're going to come in and they're going to say, "Well, what are you talking about? I'm only going to get 40 to start, or I'm going to get 35 to start." It's the whole compensation package that you have to lay out.
Yeah, we do that. I do that. A lot of people, and we've actually had discussions about just give them 60 grand and let them spend it on if they want to drive their car every day and do all that. That's fine, and let them pay for their own insurance if they just want the money up front. But you know, we go out and we say this is what you're going to make, but you have court. We have court every 2 weeks. They get additional money for court. We have training that, you know, they're going to get training hours. They're going to get overtime hours. We have National Night Out. We have the Christmas thing. We have all these events. They're going to make more than what we're offering. That's a given.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain that. And we had an officer that left here and was complaining that when I was talking to him about all these benefits, he didn't get those benefits that I told him. I said, you could be up to around this number. And then he went and complained that he didn't get that number because I told him when I hired him, you could get this number. So I was advised to keep it on a bottom line. You'll get 38. We have other benefits.
No, I think you can structure it in such a way that you can certainly outline everything. You absolutely can.
Yeah, and you know, if they don't get it, they can complain that they weren't getting 46.
Okay.
They got 45.3. But anyway, I do that. We go out and we recruit based off our strong points. We don't go out and recruit them based on our weaknesses, which we don't have many. But we go out and we make ourselves look good. I'm going to sell you the Irmo Police Department right now. I'm going to sell it to you. And I give them everything that I've got to give to them. If they take it, they take it. If they don't, we'll move on to the next. That's all we can do. Y'all have we have great benefits here. The town does this extremely well. None of the guys can complain. I mean, yeah, they won't. Of course, everybody wants more money. I give you that. But, you know, the town does a great job. And it's up to y'all to determine if we need to get additional on top of that. That's fine. We'll take it. We'll be more competitive. If you don't, we're going to move forward. So I just want to take my time to thank y'all for doing everything that y'all do for us. Y'all don't have to do it. The town does not have to do this stuff for us. A Christmas bonus, you know, in-town living expense, take-home car, those are all great things that we can sell to get more officers in here. But I just want to thank y'all for everything y'all do for us. as police officers. I mean, it's not, we don't make a lot of money, but we're happy to get what we get.
One more thing. I'm looking at the officers here, and I'm thinking, what can we do for them that have been here years?
That's been a lot of complaint. I've had a lot of complaints from officers who've been here a while who are like, well, what do we get? What is the town going to do for us? I've been here 15 years, and no one's telling me that I'm getting any, But,
I don't know whether it's a bonus or something every 5 years.
If you're here 5, 10, 15, 20 years, maybe you should be rewarded accordingly. If you're a rookie starting out and you want to be a cop, we got to open it. If you're here 5 years, you get this. 10 years, you get that. 15 years, you get that. 20 years, you get that. 25 years, you get this.
I think
maybe that's and I think we do a lot. We do a lot anyway. But
let me ask y'all this: is it the package itself that's not being conveyed to the people? I mean, if we did away with all the perks and said, okay, we're going to turn that into money. In other words, forget about the car, forget about the allowance, forget about the medical. We're going to turn that into cash directly to the officer. Now, that bumps it up tremendously. Okay?
It does.
Do the officers prefer to have that than to have the perks?
I can't speak for every officer.
I don't know. I'm asking. I mean,
I can't speak for every officer. I don't know if a take-home car is more important to someone than $3,000 more a year.
Right.
I can't speak for every officer. Maybe I could do a survey, an anonymous survey.
I'm thinking council. I'm thinking that maybe if we structure it differently, like you said, spell it out. You can either have a take-home car or you can get an extra $3,000.
You're right. Almost a checkoff list of
right.
what options you like.
Right. That way you can. It's black and white.
You don't like that?
If I can speak, I'll gladly speak. I'd actually request permission to speak, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ketterly. I'm glad you're speaking.
And I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but I want to start off by saying this. Chief Perry and Captain Dennis do a hell of a job, for lack of better words, for trying to retain us and doing everything they can. I've had 3 chief of polices, and Chief Perry has done everything in his power to retain people, flat out. More than Chief Buck, with respect to Chief Buck, and more than Chief Nates, with respect to Chief Nates. Respectfully, Councilman Walker and Mr. Pouliot, I disagree with what y'all are saying about that. It's a big perk to every officer here for the things we get. We have great benefits. You guys are awesome with, just like Chief Perry said, with the Christmas bonus, the in-town living,
right.
Everything like that. We greatly appreciate that. And it's just like Chief Perry said, the people that are staying here are the ones that should be rewarded because they're not leaving. We've done a lot of stuff, not only code enforcement, investigations, chief and the captain. We have to come off of our jobs to come help the road and cover the road. A lot of other agencies, they don't have to do that because they don't have that retention problem. It's not It's not Chief Perry's fault. It's not Captain Dennis's fault. It's not y'all's fault. It's just a fact of the matter is, since I've been here in 5 years, I have the exact number on my phone of how many people have left. And the people leaving have been here a long time because they get to, you can look right there, they get to a point where they max out. And it's hard to deal with that.
They max out
salary,
career-wise or salary?
Not only that, positions, yes, but also money-wise. But again, it's nothing, the benefits, like Chief Perry said, the benefits you guys offer us are great. They do everything in their power to keep us here, everything. It's nothing against them and it's nothing against y'all. But the idea of promoting a salary, I mean, it's great. It's going to draw people just like they said. You get a lot of, a person like Officer Stokes. Officer Stokes has 35 years law enforcement experience, and he's working here. And I can tell you right now, every agency in South Carolina would love to hire him with his experience. Sergeant Grinstead's here. She's got 10-plus years experience. Any agency would pay that to have her. Detective Wells, he's an amazing narcotics officer. And I know y'all don't hear a whole lot about the work he does. He could go to a number of those agencies and make a lot of money doing a lot of different things. And he keeps Irmo very safe for what he does. I understand what y'all are saying about checking off, this package or that. The benefits we have are great, and we all like those. Just like the salary, it's nice. It's not the worst, as you can see from the list, but If it went up a little bit, nobody's going to be upset by that. And I appreciate everything that Ms. Powell said, Mr. Glassmeyer, as well as everybody else in the town. They appreciate us. They see what we do. We work very hard to protect the town. We do a lot of community events. But that's all I'd like to say. Sorry, Chief, if I said something I shouldn't have.
And if you look at this, I don't know if it's the first page, but it has that current benefit. Some of that stuff, a lot of the other towns do. Some of it, like the take-home pay for the, not take-home pay, but the in-town pay, we're the only ones that does that. But some of the other towns pay 100% of the employees. Some of them don't. The competitive sick leave thing in here. We allow, and that's for all employees, not just the police department, but we allow those days to accrue a whole lot more than a lot of other towns do. So if somebody got real sick, bad sick, they may have a couple hundred, 300, 400, 500 or 600, maybe 1,200 days added up that they can use that to offset them being out of work during that time. But a lot of those things are still going to be kind of competitive. A lot of places allow the cars. Some of them may do 25 miles, some of them may do 20, but a lot of them may do that. My son's over at Richland County, and they allow him to take a car home and everything. I know Lexington County does that. And one of the benefits, too, especially for in-town, of allowing those officers to take that car home is that car is sitting in a neighborhood in town, and, yeah, they're getting a benefit, but we're also getting a benefit. The neighbors are getting a benefit. Everybody gets a benefit because that's more safety for them. And if they have to go somewhere in an emergency and their uniform's at home, they put it on, their car's at home, they get in the car and they can go. So there's a lot of good benefits about that, too, that we can't just say that's a benefit to them when it's really a benefit to us as well. And even if they live in another town or, say, less than 20 miles away, if that car's there and they're on call and something comes up, they got to jump in the car and come, then they're ready to do their job from the time they get in the car and get in the town limits. They're ready. They don't have to come here, get a car, and take more time. So that's a good benefit for us as well and the residents. But a lot of this stuff, I know we have the Christmas bonus. I can't remember what Bob told me about that, whether other places do it or not.
700.
But the other places do that? Do y'all remember how many?
It varies by agency.
Okay.
Cash is better than a turkey, though, right? Cash. Yeah,
but
cash is king, right?
Yeah.
And they still have to take payroll taxes and all that out of that.
They do.
Well, what I would, if I may, what I would like to do is I would like to challenge you, Bob, that I would like you to go to and find out what the total package for these other towns comprise. And that way we can tell exactly what we have as positive and what we have as negative and see if we can make an adjustment accordingly.
And I think, don't you have some of that?
What Mr. Brown had prepared for you is based off of what we did in research, reaching out to the city of Casey, town of Lexington, West Columbia. When I posed the question to them, what do you start an officer out at? They gave those numbers that Mr. Brown's put into your briefing here. Some of them would elaborate a little bit more about what they do as they move forward in terms of after 3 years they get a 3% bump, or some people showed with us their steps or their pay grades. When you look at the what I think is a pretty comprehensive list that the town administrator prepared for you with the benefits, most agencies have pretty much the same benefits. Most agencies has take-home cars in the Midlands, except the city of Columbia, which has always been trying to do that for their officers. Most agencies pay for insurance. Now, again, it depends on the carrier, on how much we're paying as a town or how much West Columbia is paying for their insurance. Most agencies offer some sort of Christmas bonus. Now, it may vary from $500 to $1,000, but we're not way out of the spectrum when we look at our benefits packages. I think what it boils down to, even across the nation, we have a recruitment and a retention problem. So when the economy's good and people can go out and get jobs where you don't have to carry a gun for a living, they can get those jobs at $35,000, $45,000 a year. When the economy's bad, they like coming to work for us because we have these benefit packages. So making those optional for employees, I think, is a disservice because we don't know what the economy is going to do. And at some point, we want to entice people with medical insurance, with take-home vehicles, things that would bring them to apply with us. When we look at new recruits and younger officers, obviously the dollar amount is what they truly look at, is what they're going to make every week or every 2 weeks, their paycheck. And so when they look at $35,000 a year or $38,000 a year, it's difficult for them to comprehend what other benefits that they're getting because they're not seeing it in their paycheck.
That's what I'm saying, though. If you have that spelled out, you know, $3,000 for the car, $6,000 for the housing allowance.
And we do, you know, when it comes to the car, we look at it with the federal rate of 54 cents a mile. We allow you to take it at least 20 miles as the wheel turns. So you're looking at between a $3,000 to $6,000 savings from driving your own vehicle to and from work. However, that's the same benefit that you get at Town of Lexington, same benefit at West Columbia, same benefit at Casey. So, and they're doing the same thing. When we got creative and started the sign-in bonus, we were one of the first agencies in South Carolina to start giving a sign-in bonus. Within months, everyone's doing it. So if we put together these comprehensive packages and compare them to everyone else, they're going to be doing the same thing.
But I think I heard Corporal Catley say the salary starting is competitive. It's you get maxed out. You're not, you know, you hit a ceiling and then you can't grow anymore.
So
I think that's what I heard him say now.
No, that's not correct. I mean, Corporal Catley made a lot of good comments, but he was wrong about the salary. Nobody in the last 8 years has capped out in their salary because the step automatically comes every year. Everybody gets 10%.
But I'm saying
they max out their responsibilities and they get bored with it.
Right. You can max out, you won't max out your money, but you may top out on your responsibility.
Correct.
And that's one of the things in corporate America I had to get used to. You know, I get the money, I get paid, right, but I'm still going to be a senior programmer, not a vice president of data processing. You know what I mean? I want to see me growing in my career. And if you don't see that, or if there's no way to grow, then you look at other agencies where you can get that title. You get the money, but you don't have the responsibility or the title. So that's a management thing that y'all got to work out.
And we did. We got a bike patrol going, which Caterly's on, and he likes to ride his bicycle. We did that. We have got the grant position that allows officer to get in that grant position, go out and enforce DUI enforcement. That has been a successful thing. Corporal DeAndre Hughley is outstanding when it comes to that. We are looking at other programs such as traffic units in the future, which we have not approached y'all about. Additional narcotic officer, another investigator, a lieutenant's position. Mm-hmm. We're coming to y'all and we're offering some additional things that these officers can do besides patrol, besides investigations, besides code enforcement. We want to be the agency that someone can come to and say, I want to go there because I can do this, that, and the other, because that's what other agencies offer. So yeah, we have started the bike patrol, right, Officer Caterly? You happy about that? And we are looking at the future. What can we provide these young, energetic officers who want to go out and make the community a better place? What can we do to make the town a better place? Do we need a track division? Do we need extra patrol officers? Do we need a lieutenant's position? Do we need a full-time narcotics officer? Do we need another investigator? Do we need to add to a patrol? All those are questions that are yes, okay? But we cannot come to y'all and say we need 10 more positions at another $1 million or whatever the price would be. So we have to look at that and we have to approach that cautiously. Do we need a canine officer this year or do we need another narcotics officer? Do we need a lieutenant's position? Do we need another person in this position? What do we need now? And that's what we're addressing currently with y'all. Yes, I would love to come to y'all and say, give me 10 more officers and I'll put them where I need them. But I know that's not going to happen today. So,
and if I might interject, the one thing that we keep losing, the main point here is budgeting. You know, the next closest town on this list of these 6 towns is the town of Lexington with a $34 million budget, and we have a $5 million budget. So please take that into consideration. The counties both have $100 million budgets. So, I mean, we're nowhere near these guys, plus they all have utilities. There's nobody else to really compare Irmo
And they have
to,
millage.
because you go to Chapin and they got 4 or 5, or they got millage, they got utility. Chapin's got how many officers? Yeah, they're the only ones that have a budget close to ours. Theirs is like $5 million also. Then you go to Springdale and they got a couple officers and they got a $3 million budget. So I mean, the budget's the important thing. That, you know, we're way low on this list because there's nobody else comparable with the same values, the same number of
well, I mean, Lexington,
same budget.
You're comparing us to Lexington. Lexington's got what, 100 cops?
They got 60.
60. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. You should be comparing us to Chapin or Springdale.
But there's nobody else with 20 cops locally.
Yeah.
And the same population.
Well, okay.
Something to consider. I mean, yeah, it's great. I would love to do all these great things, but the money's got to come somewhere.
Yeah.
And to kind of add to part of what Barry was saying and Kalerly too, and even what we had talked about on those sergeant positions, you can add a few more sergeant positions so people have some upward mobility and ranking, but still at some point, if it's, you know, at some point they top out in a rank and they top out in the, I don't want to say pay, but they do kind of top out. Being a smaller police department, we're not like Lexington with 60 or City of Columbia with 100 or Sheriff Department, where every year they have so many people retire and they have people moving up and they can continue to move up because there's people retiring and for other reasons leaving. But they got all these areas to move to too. So somebody can go from a patrolman after 3 years or whatever to maybe SWAT or drug enforcement or K9
TV.
or yeah,
TV
whatever, all that. You know, so they got a lot of options they can move to. We don't have those options. And, you know, if we had a 100 mil property tax like some of the towns do, I think Blythewood does it, and I don't think Chapin has a millage either.
They have a millage. I
They
don't
do?
know what it is.
Oh, okay. But we're one of the few towns that don't. And so we're kind of stuck in this zone, too, that's hard to move out of. But we need to, you know, look at that. And that's why I kind of put this on there, so we can start looking at it, thinking about it, and then depending on the next meeting, at some point we need to have a work session and we can have more in-depth conversation, either before the next meeting or pick another date or something.
Can you email me your org chart again, please? Oh, I know you had it on that budget thing last year.
The what?
The structure of the police department.
Oh, okay.
The org chart.
Right, the organizational chart. And the thing
Right.
is, I talked to the chief about maybe adding some sergeants, but the biggest problem we're going to have with that is, and we can do a survey with, you know, Kalerly and some of the other officers, but let's say you move from corporal to sergeant and then maybe you move to staff sergeant. You still got to have a structure of responsibility to have it as a promotion to get more salary. You need to have something else to do, and we just don't have enough to give all these staff sergeants.
Well, no, I mean, but we got cyber crimes. We can you have a person doing that. I don't know. Right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, right. Anyway, just send me that. Email me that, please.
We don't have a K9 though, right?
I mean, I'd love to have it.
Oh,
We did years ago.
I know.
I rode
I know,
with
I
one of them
remember.
years ago.
K9 turned into cats. You got cat patrol now.
So, any more discussion on that one? Executive session, none. Next is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion.
And second? All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.